All right, you should have your notes out in front of you for our angles and triangles unit. And currently we are on day 1. And for day 1 today, we are going to be learning about complementary and supplementary angles. So those are 2 vocabulary words we'll be going over. And for our notes, you're going to be completing student handout number 1. And then for homework this evening, you're going to get homework 1 that you'll have to complete. So I need you to go ahead and flip to the following handout right here. And at the top, it should say student handout 1. That's going to be your notes for today. And we are going to be learning about complementary and supplementary angles. So angles can be named many different ways. So angles can be named in many ways based on their characteristics. So we're going to talk about some of those characteristics and what they are. And this right here is called a protractor. So our directions say the protractor shows the measure of many different angles. Use the diagram to answer the questions below. So this big arcing piece right here with all the numbers on it, that's called a protractor. And we've got different angles here. And so we're going to use this diagram to answer a few questions. So the first question says, what is the measure of, you'll see this symbol right here stands for angle. That's talking about angle CFE. So if it wants to know what is angle CFE, we're going to start up here where C is. We're going to go down to F right here in the middle, and then out to E. So this is angle CFE right here, highlighted in orange. And then the directions want to know what is the measure of the angle. So these numbers right here tell us the different measures of the angles. When you initially start, we're going to start down here, and we're going to be working our way in the counterclockwise direction. And whenever you start, we're actually going to start with these smaller numbers because our angle starts off small. And then once we get past 90 degrees, then it ends up getting bigger. So I want to be using these smaller numbers here. This is not a 170-degree angle or 160 degrees. We can start from here to here is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and now I'm up to 80. So this angle right here, we would say that the measure of angle CFE is 80 degrees. And next, we have to figure out what is the measure of angle AFC. So I'm going to start at A, go into F, and up to C. So now I'm looking at angle AFC. And this time I'm going to start down here at A, and I'm going to go in the clockwise direction. And so from here, I'm starting at 0. I'm jumping up to 10. So you'll notice this time I'm using the numbers on top because this would be 10 degrees. And then 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. And then we've got 100 degrees. So this would be a 100-degree angle. It's greater than 90. It's a large angle. And now we're going to jump down to this box down here and talk about a few vocabulary words. So the first vocabulary word is an acute angle. An acute angle is an angle that measures less than 90 degrees. An angle that measures less than 90 degrees. So I like to remember that an acute angle is a small angle, kind of like a cutie. If you've ever eaten a cutie before, a cutie would just be a small orange. So it's like a little clementine, small orange. A cutie is a small orange. An acute angle is a small angle, is how I remember those two. It's an angle that measures less than 90 degrees. So now for our example right here, we want to jump up to our diagram. And we want to find ourselves an angle that's less than 90 degrees. So we're looking for a relatively small angle. And in this diagram, there are a number of small acute angles that are less than 90 degrees. We're just going to pick one of them. I'm noticing if I go from E to F and then up to D right here, that's a pretty teeny tiny looking angle right here. So I'm going to look at my protractor and I'm going to start with 10, 20. That would be what we call a 30-degree angle. So 30 degrees is less than 90. So we could say that angle, that's my symbol for angle, E, F, D, so E to F to D, is an example of an acute angle. And our next vocabulary word is an obtuse angle. And an obtuse angle is an angle that measures between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. So an obtuse angle is a very large angle. It's got to be bigger than 90 and less than 180 degrees. So an obtuse angle is between 90 and 180. It's greater than 90 degrees. So if we jump up to our diagram here, I'm looking for a really, really large angle for an obtuse angle. So I'm seeing maybe this time I'll start down here at A. And we always go to the center, so I'm going to go from A to F. And then if I go to D right here, I'm noticing that I create a pretty large angle right here. And we do have some lines that are kind of dividing that up, but we're mostly looking from A to F to D. To find that angle measure, I'm going to start at 0 and go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, and 150 degrees. 150 is between 90 and 180. So we could say angle AFD is an example of an obtuse angle. Our next vocabulary word is a right angle. A right angle is an angle that measures exactly 90 degrees. So it has to be exactly 90 degrees. So if we take a look at our diagram, I'm looking for an angle that's exactly 90 degrees. So my initial thought is to look up here, right where C is, but I'm noticing that 90 degrees is right here, and I don't have any lines that go from 0 to 90 degrees. So I can't just simply start at 0 and go up to 90. I'm going to have to look for a right angle within some of these other angles getting pieced together here. I'm noticing if I start at B, and I go down to F, and I go down to D, that's starting to look like a right angle. But I want to make sure that it's a right angle. In order for it to be a right angle, it has to be 90 degrees. And so I'm noticing that at B, it's starting at 60. So I'm going to count by tens and hope that I end up getting to 90 by the time I get to D. So this would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 degrees. So between B and D, there are exactly 90 degrees. So we can say that angle BFD is a right angle. A straight angle is an angle that measures exactly 180 degrees. So a lot of times students get confused by the word angle. It's a straight angle. They're like, if it's a straight angle, isn't that just a straight line? And that's exactly right. A straight line or a straight angle is exactly 180 degrees. So we want to jump back to our diagram. And we're looking for a straight line. My straight line would be here. And there's actually a name for that angle. Technically, that angle goes from A to F and then opens up to E. So we would call that angle AFE. Or if you wanted to, you could also call it EFA. I forgot to mention that earlier. You can actually name these angles backwards. EFA. A. The big part is that this vertex right here, it's got to be in the middle. All right, now we're going to jump down to complementary and supplementary angles. And I'm going to actually start up a second video here for the rest of these notes.